When and why do men and women reject intimacy? And what's the difference? Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Some of you have asked me to redo the intimacy series, and inshallah I will. And I think a lot of people found value in that because the approach towards intimacy education, I'll be very careful with the terms that I use because I know that a lot of people are very sensitive to it. However, we understand that we live in a very hypersexualized society, especially for those living in the West Muslim communities. The reality is that their children, the youth, and even the adults are very much aware of the things that happen in society. It is all over. We are flooded with such issues, such images, you name it. Problem is that there's a bit of a contradiction in our community when it comes to what's inside and what's outside. And of course, you have to have this concept of adab and good behavior, and also the haya and the way you behave, shyness, bashfulness. So there's a way to be inside, for example, in the bedroom, and a way that you behave on the street. It seems that for the Westerners, a lot of times it doesn't make a difference. But for the Muslims, it does. So I do understand the sensitivity. And inshallah, we'll try to address this series to make sure that we are sensitive enough, that we don't upset people. Some people are upset when I read from Sahih Muslim, Kitab Nikah, the book of marriage, certain issues, certain hadith related to intimacy. And you can see the reaction. Some women said that you talk about these things without shame. And I was kind of like, but I'm reading from the hadith, man. So anyway, I will recommend, there's books of scholars, fiqh books of scholars hundreds of years ago, and also some current books that discuss the issue of intimacy. And those you can kind of learn and read at your own pace. Now, you can consider this video the introduction to the series. I believe there is a need for education when it comes to intimacy for pre-married couples. Well, not couples, but you know what I mean. Pre-married brothers and sisters who want to get married. They're about to get married. There should be some fiqh. The same way you learn how to pray, how to pay zakah, certain things you should learn about intimacy that the Prophet ﷺ said, or some of the Sahaba, or some of the scholars of Islam. Actually, if we were to say some of these things that some of the scholars have said, I think people would be upset and they might not accept it. And that's why you have to be careful with hikmah and how you release information, the fiqh of information, how much is released. Because not everyone can accept and understand. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he sent some of the Sahabas to different places, he said, be careful with what you say. So after some advice and some counseling with certain people, I think, and for me, myself, re-evaluating the issue, I think I will redo it and hopefully it'll be more benefit, inshallah. But anyway, let us get down to the topic. When and why do men and women reject intimacy? And what's the difference? Well, let's start first and foremost with the one that's difficult. And it's always in the focus. Women. Why do women reject intimacy? And again, I want to give the disclaimer. Please be careful that I'm not generalizing. I know that it's a very sensitive thing. There can be so much said about it. So I'm just going to say that, I'm going to talk about some women and why they reject intimacy. And one of the first things, and you have to understand, here we're talking about the actual act of rejection. We're not talking about what they should do, the theory. And we know very well that a woman shouldn't reject intimacy from her husband. And the Prophet ﷺ was very clear about that. And the hadith that if a husband goes to bed angry with his wife, that the angels will curse her. And if a lot of, till the morning, till he gets happy with her. Or if he calls her to her bed and she refuses. And a lot of women get upset when that hadith is cited. And we're going to talk about as to why that such a strict ruling on that. But today what we're trying to understand is why would a woman reject intimacy if she knows that hadith? Of course, some people try to explain that and to find ways around it and beat around the bush and try to say, no, no, it's not like that. Sadly, that's usually what people do when they don't like something, as opposed to trying to understand maybe, wait a second, why is it such a strict ruling? And not just that, but why is it that a woman, despite that ruling and that, warning, she still goes on to reject intimacy? So when you look at the psychology of the woman, the man, a lot of times we make the mistake of thinking, like we married a woman, but we think that she thinks like a man, or that she feels like a man, or that she will act like a man. And that's the mistake we all do. And it's not the same. It's very clear from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran, that it is not the same. So number one reason that a woman would reject intimacy is because she does not feel, I gotta be careful with the word here, she does not feel warm. Okay? There's a mental block inside. Something that is she's not in the right place, in the right mood, in the right zone. If a woman is not in the right zone, as opposed to a man who can be in the zone pretty much, not always, but pretty much at any given point, hence the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that even if he's on the top of a camel and he wants to be intimate, she should respond. Or if she's cooking on the stove and he's, like the man is like at the worst time, it'll just happen, it just comes. The woman, if she's not in the zone, if she doesn't feel good, if she doesn't feel it, it will be very difficult for her to actually do it, to enjoy it, to get into the mood. Now, of course, Islam encourages her to respond, as I said. And a lot of times you first have to do, then you feel. And that is true, it applies for, across all, men and women. You do it and then you will start feeling it, no doubt. It takes some time, but anyway, to understand women, a lot of them cannot be in the zone because there's a mental block. She's thinking about the children. She's thinking about something. She might be thinking about, her parents. There's something that happened. It spoiled her mood. She was at work and there was something that happened. That is why I always keep saying why women should prioritize their families over their work. Because that's what it is. You come 6 p.m., 7 p.m., back from work, having to deal with a very rude boss, and you think the woman is going to feel like having to be intimate. The man, he's going to be like, I need to be intimate because I was so stressed. You understand? I've just had a tough day and I really need to be intimate. And the woman is going to say something like, I can't be intimate because I'm so stressed. You understand? So man wants to fulfill or to get rid of his stress through intimacy. He wants to feel close to his wife. And the woman doesn't. A lot of time doesn't feel so intimate because of the stress. There's that mental block that is going to stop her. She doesn't feel in the zone. And she's not going to enjoy it at the beginning. Maybe if she gets past that, maybe she will. But to get to that point, it will not be that easy. That's number one. Number two, there's this self-awareness that women have an issue with. Again, not all women, but some women. And it's another mental block. If the woman doesn't feel desired, doesn't feel beautiful, she doesn't feel attractive, if she has a doubt about her weight, for example, or her look, she feels insecure about something. And a lot of time that insecurity comes from media, from what they've seen, a movie, a certain picture of a photo model or something like that. And a lot of times even from the husband, who might not praise her enough or compliment her, tell her she's beautiful. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ talked about messengers, words and kisses. Let's say, foreplay. And a lot of the foreplay happens, men think that it happens at the moment of intimacy. No, that is important, no doubt, very important. But a lot of the foreplay happens before, building up, where you flirt with your wife and you keep highlighting certain parts of her body or certain things about her that makes her feel good about herself. I got to be careful again with the words. I was going to use certain words, but I think again, just for the sensitivity, I'm going to try to be as academic as possible. Even though the word sexy is, to an extent, could be academic. Anyway, so if she feels extremely warm about herself, and women are like that, women do feel, they have to feel. It's something interesting. Women observe themselves and they find beauty in themselves, and it makes them feel good. But not just like I feel good, like a man feels confident, for example, if he has muscles. No, she feels almost in a sensual way warm about herself. Do you understand? So when she looks in the mirror, if she has, like, women compare, they look at each other and they can say, look at that woman is beautiful, or this or that. There's a sensual appreciation of the female aesthetics that women only have. Men, not like that. Men don't say, for example, look at that guy, he's so sexy. Women will say, look at that woman, she is so attractive. All right? It doesn't really exist in men, right? But women do. So if the man knows how to work that and how to prepare her for that and sends those messengers, the Prophet ﷺ said those words, she will get into that zone to feel good about herself, to be able to be intimate. And not just that, it's going to be very, very amazing for the guy as well. Because when the woman feels good and she is in the zone, then obviously there's certain changes in her body that will facilitate for intimacy to take place. And the man will enjoy it much, much better than if it was just like, let's do it. Okay? So that has to be taken into consideration. So if she has that mental block of not feeling secure about herself, she might be thinking while they're intimate or about to get intimate, oh, my wrinkles or my stretch marks or my this or my that, or, and that is something that stops her. A lot of men don't understand. For example, after women give birth, they have a lot of insecurities. Again, not all women. I know some people say, man, this guy generalizes a lot. And I've read your comments, yes. But some women will feel very insecure about their stretch marks if they had a C-section, about the cut, the mark, the scar, and many things, the weight gain, the baby fat, this and this and this. There's so many things that she will feel insecure. And if the man is not aware of that, now today we're talking about the girl side, okay? Guys, relax, we're going to get to you as well. But if she is not comfortable about that, in the back of her mind, it will be there, and she won't be able to perform, to enjoy, and you as a man will not enjoy it. Okay, these are the mental blocks that I'm talking about. And I think these are the most important ones that will make a woman not be able to be intimate, or make her to refuse intimacy even though she knows the punishment and so on. Other things can be, of course, health-related issues, just not feeling well, close to her period, and so on. There are a lot of times where the woman is just not in the zone compared to the man who will be in the zone constantly. I mean, it'll be a lot. And we're going to talk about the ones who are not as well. We're going to get to that as well. So don't think that this is the only video and that's it. This is not an exhaustive video. We're just addressing a few issues. I'll continue in the next episode about it. But I want to get back to one thing though, to refute maybe a popular opinion that men might have towards women, that women do not want intimacy or don't enjoy intimacy as much as men. No, they do actually. Actually, women want intimacy a lot. It's just that they're not so open in public about it the way men are. They're a bit more controlled, but inside of them, they have a lot of desire, but it has to be, you can say, putting the right thing in the right place at the right time. And yes, and it has to be the right one as well. So sometimes men will say like, oh, my wife doesn't want to be intimate. Yeah, because maybe you're not the one, or you're not the right thing, the right place, the right time. But so a lot of times even women think like, oh my God, I think I don't have libido. I don't have the desire. No, they do, but it has to be the correct thing. As opposed to guys, again, not all of them, they do have much easier time with that, because the right place, time, it's pretty much more often than women. I'm not going to say all the time guys are always going to do it, no, because we're going to address it in the next episode. But most men are pretty much ready at most of the time. and Allah knows best. So inshallah we'll continue next episode. Keep up. Assalamu alaikum.